Hello and welcome back. We've missed you. We hope you've missed us. It's been a long 12 weeks, but finally we're here. And as we are recording, we are only 6 days from the big kickoff. Let me first introduce who we have with us tonight on the original QPR podcast. I have to my left, co-founder of the QPR podcast, Paul Finney.
I've been promoted again. Is this good? I used to live in a broom cupboard.
So predictable. This is our 6th season, you know. 6th season, still the same gags. Our semi...
You'll get better.
We also have our semi to his left, which is Clive Whittingham from Loft For Words.
Hello.
Hello, Clive. Good summer?
Amazing, yeah.
You're looking nice and brown.
I know.
You've been described as a semi before.
Okay, yeah, every time I come on.
Every time he comes on, he's our semi.
Yeah.
Like he's detached. Carry on.
And from the Kilburn Times, is that to give the esteemed organ its full name?
Brent and Kilburn Times.
Brent and Kilburn Times, I beg your pardon. Sean Gallagher. Welcome. So this is the season opener podcast for what is going to be, as I've said, our 6th season of the podcast. If this is the first time you've heard us, welcome. Thanks for listening. We are a weekly podcast for all QPR fans, by QPR fans. We usually record on Monday nights throughout the season. Asterisk subject to change, as they say. You can follow us on Twitter at QPR Podcast. You can join our page on Facebook if you look for the new QPR Podcast, which is now about 2.5 years old, that page. And you can find us on iTunes. If you want to find anything, just go to our website at qprpod.co.uk. Before we launch into the QPR chat, I just want to start the podcast, the first podcast of the season, by saying a big thank you. We've had a lot of support from listeners in recent weeks. So as many of you know, the podcast is free, but we do have our own costs to see to. So we launched the Pod Squad this season, which was an extension of a patron scheme that we did last year, which is basically anybody that is able to or would like to can support us. So we had a thing going where you could support... the Pod Squad, I beg your pardon, which I just mentioned, where you get free entry to our end of season pod, a seat in this very studio for one of our regular season podcasts, and a number of other benefits. We've nearly sold out of that. So excellent. People are very, very generous. If you're still interested, go to our website and click on support the show, and that is the end of the commercial messages, at least for now.
And thank you. Without you, we are nothing.
Indeed.
Finney's cider doesn't pay for itself.
Exactly.
I've been off the cider.
So I see.
Finney takes an annual dividend of 1 cider from this show.
Actually, that's not true. I found that Wetherspoons do gluten-free beer. Just saying.
How different is that to normal beer?
Well, it hasn't got wheat in it for a start.
No, but taste-wise.
I don't know.
Because you've never tasted normal beer. Right. Okay.
Chocolate oranges are also available at Rawlinson's.
Okay, so first thing I want to ask you, there's actually loads to go through because as with every pre-season, it's a very busy time. Your highlights of the summer, gentlemen, and we'll start with the most obvious France-based Will Griggs is on fire one from my esteemed colleague and friend Paul Finney. Paul, what was your highlight of the summer?
That was all right. It was. I've never been to a major championship before, seeing Northern Ireland, because I was too young for Spain and I couldn't afford to go to Mexico, so it was nice. And also they were World Cups. This was European Championships, first one. Nice to see a QPR player do himself pretty well, I thought, against world-class defenders. Did all right. Went with another QPR fan called Alan, and we ended up in a flea pit in the middle of Paris, and we couldn't sleep because we were getting bitten all night by fleas. It's a true story, that. And I got the top. It was great. To be honest, it was like I kind of fell in love with a football again.
Did you just very quickly say you got the top?
Yeah, I got a top bunk, and I was scared of falling off. Like it was terrifying, and I couldn't.
How many games did you go to?
I got to 3 out of 4.
3 separate trips.
Yeah.
So you're popular at home.
That'll never happened. I haven't been home in about 30 years. No, it was amazing because I met loads of QPR fans out there. In fact, a couple of QPR fans who are English came out just to see for the crack and everything else. So it's good to see some QPR flags at the game. And it's worth doing. Anyway, it never happened to us again, and I loved it. It was frigging brilliant. And beating Ukraine was brilliant, apart from I felt really guilty for the Ukrainian fans because they were very nice.
And if I may try and steer you back to the main subject of the podcast, which is QPR, what's your QPR highlight of the summer?
Well, you see, that's an interesting one because I kind of buggered all my money up in France, so I couldn't go to Holland, which I was gutted about because Neil and the Dutch lads are brilliant and they put on a really good show for the lads that went out there and females, of course. And I would love to have done that, so I didn't get doing that. Just seeing the players come in and getting that new pre-season hope, hype, expectations. And we've got Swindon in the cup. So there you go. Up until then, I'm absolutely ecstatic about the season.
Clive?
Assuming you don't want chapter and verse on how my rugby league team got good after 30 years of being dreadful.
It's mainly another podcast.
Yeah,
but
probably.
You can give us a couple.
Did they get
We'll
nice,
indulge
though?
you for a couple of sentences.
No, that's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
well done.
Who's
been
your
nice.
rugby league team?
Hull FC.
Oh yes, of
Yes.
course.
And mine's Hull Kingston Rovers.
Okay.
Yes, which is I've
But
often
yours
told you is
just
like
to be contrary, right?
that's like supporting a Chelsea and Luton hybrid. It's just anyway. So QPR highlights this. I will probably on balance was signing Jordan Cousins. He'll no doubt fall flat on his face and turn out to be a terrible signing. I've said that, but I just think in the current market where everything's so costly, to sign a player of that ability, that age, who played really well against us last season in a position that we desperately needed to strengthen for that money, I was amazed that it happened really, and delighted, and he played very well on Saturday against Watford. So that's been the QPR highlight for me so far.
And don't forget the kit.
That was going to be mine. I'll do mine then.
Oopsies.
I mean, it's not really. It didn't have a big monologue prepared, but the kit's fantastic. It seems to have been met with universal approval. There are hoops. There's a decent badge on it. When I say the kit, I would almost put the kit and the badge together as one subject title. It's almost like would metaphor be the right word? A metaphor for kind of the return to sanity that perhaps we're seeing with the club, the return to stability, the not doing things in a stupid way. The kind of the days of the Nike deal, and someone at the club said to me, the Nike weren't everything that they were supposed to, that they cracked up to be. Well, no shit. Of course, we all saw that coming. I like the fact that we're with Dry World, whoever they are, and they seem very nice people, but I like the fact that we're with kind of a sort of honest new kit manufacturer who just want to produce the kit that the fans want, and we've got a lovely set of strips. Not too sure on that third one, but whatever, it's the third strip. Lovely set of strip, hoops that go round, and a badge that reminds people of better times.
There's never a reason why we should never have full hoops in a shirt ever, and I refuse to accept there ever could be. But it's as perfect DNA QPR as you can get. Well done, Daniel Norris, for the badge, by the way.
Yes.
I saw it on Saturday for the first time. Obviously, people were sort of walking around the pub, and it looks even better in the flesh. It's the nicest shirt we've had for so long.
Stylish.
And if just coming back to the Nike point, if you see the teams that have got Nike this year, Nike's kits this year are even worse than they ever were before, including Hartlepool, Coventry, St Johnstone, and about 3 other teams that play in sort of blue and white have all been given an identical blue and white striped kit that fades at the top. It's like, what have we got lying around the warehouse?
All I can compare it to, I'm sorry that I was to bring misery into the room, the England European kit was vile. I'm not English.
So it suited the team perfectly, I thought.
It wasn't good. I mean, that's Nike all over. They just seem to just throw darts at something and then pick it.
And I also saw that with the kids kit, obviously, because we've got a betting sponsor, with the kids kit you actually don't get smart kits on it. And although it looks a bit weird because it's a blank kit and you see the players on the pitch wearing the sponsor one, I actually think there's a sort of timeless quality to the kids kit, and I like it even more. I'm going to get one for my daughter. I think it's a really good looking kit with and without the sponsor.
I would pay more to not the worst sponsor's name, just have blue and white.
Well, just be under 16 and you can have one.
About the same height.
Sean.
Well, I think we've missed a big point here. The Dry World Cup winners. Bit of silverware, proud moment for Ned and Manure. So, no, I think if we're looking back, obviously Brentford maybe had a bit of the bragging rights finishing ahead of us last season. It shouldn't have happened for a start. I think taking Jake Bidwell, who is their best player, I feel like by far, my opinion, so taking him, that's a big sign. I think it's intent. I think in that area we've got two of the best left backs in the league, really. So I think I remember when Martin Rowlands joined Rangers, I think it was in summer 2003. That kind of galvanised the place. Galvanised the place that summer, and he was a massive player, Rowlands, wasn't he, in that promotion-winning campaign? So I think I was pleasantly surprised with that one, actually. I wasn't sure if I thought they made a few other teams in for him, so I think that'd be mine, yeah.
At that price as well, I don't really understand. I mean, I don't keep up with Brentford a lot. I mean, a Brentford fan that I know sort of begrudgingly admitted that he can't remember Bidwell ever having a bad game, which sounds good. But why? I don't understand why that price. I'm sure, like, Brentford are known for being sort of hard bargainers and things like that. How did we get him so cheap?
With a year left in his contract, I think, and obviously, and he's the offer they came to him, he wasn't going to. He told him he wasn't going to sign a new deal.
Okay.
So I suppose in that aspect,
they've got a youth team left back as well coming through that they quite like.
I think offered him a new contract, so I think it can be up to $2 million. But obviously Everton get 50% of that as well, so they haven't got a lot really out of it. Brentford obviously they've done well there, Everton, obviously when they sold him. But yeah, that's probably, I think that's a very good deal.
QPR doing shrewd deals.
Yeah. Can you imagine
shrewd deal shop?
Can you imagine being a Brentford fan? Like, you're sitting there for like your wee moment of time, get like, yes, we've finished the problem, yes, and then you bastards, yeah. It must be, and he is quality. It's like he could be the new indoors. He's steady, does his job. And they're the best. They're the best fullbacks you want.
Well, it's got to be an improvement on Konchesky, isn't it? I mean, you could probably have exhumed my
ma's an improvement on Konchesky.
I was going to say you could have exhumed my grandmother, and she would have been better than Konchesky. But it's an immediate improvement down the left side of that team, isn't it?
Good luck to Gillingham.
Okay, is that where he is?
Yeah, he's rapidly descending to a level more appropriate for his skill set.
Yes, indeed.
Getting closer to the channel.
I know we're sort of, I'm cheating by having a second highlight, but my second highlight was the fact that everything was so bloody sensible this summer. There wasn't the sort of QPR summers of past of giving it large, we're going to be the biggest, let's have a press conference to tell everyone we're going to be an amazing brand. I work in that world and I still don't know what that means. It was just sort of, let's get on with our business and try and get good deals for players and start pre-season early and work the players hard and keep the players we want and get rid of the players we don't want, and nothing too controversial.
There's still a few that we could get rid of.
Well, of course, and there is going to be, because that's got a long tail, that legacy of kind of overplayed players.
But you don't think that we've played our expectations down so far, we might have entered the LDV by mistake as well? That worries me, because I've seen that the academy sides have entered that as well, so it could be another cup we'd be out of.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Have they?
Absolutely. Oh, it's a total farce. We could do the whole show on that.
Isn't it called the Everton defender now, isn't it? It's not the LDV Vans. John Stones.
No, we've moved on from that as well. It's something else now, I think.
Okay. So that gag doesn't work. Right, okay.
Oh dear.
Goings and comings, because we'll do it the other way around. So, I mean, lots of players went, but the main ones, Hill, Falling Green, Young Suk Young, Traore, Rob Green. Of course, we're all gutted about Samba Diakite. We'll get that one out now, blah, blah, blah. But any players that we should have kept from that list, or others that I've missed?
I would have kept Fallen, clearly, because I love Fallen. I think the rest are fair enough. Clint Hill would have been great to be a coach and a good squad player to have around the dressing room, but he clearly maybe wants to play more games, I don't know, so he's gone to Scotland to keep Joey company. Now you can't. I mean, what's the bet that Green's going to have an absolute blinder?
Yeah.
I can just see that coming a mile off. That Green. I mean, Green will be a terrible signing for Leeds because he is a terrible goalkeeper, but he will play really well against us on day one.
Okay.
Anyone who believes it was a good decision to have got rid of Fallen?
Somebody else go first.
I think all good things come to an end. I think the club have stood by Fallon during kind of 3 separate injuries. I think they've stood by him. I don't think he was the same player. I know he played 30 times last season, and I thought he'd done all right, but I didn't think he's not the same player as he once was. And to be fair to him, he's had 3 horrible injuries. He's done very well to get back to the level where he's at. But I think the correct decision was made there. He wanted to be playing every week in, week out, and clearly, I think you look at the signings QPR's made. He was never going to get in that midfield, was he? I think if you look in the midfield now, I don't think you got Jordan Cousins, those kind of players, Massimo Longo, and got obviously Carl Henry and Ariel Boris competing for that defensive midfield spot. So I think, correct decision made, and good luck to him. I hope he gets another championship.
Let me tell you, it's a blow for the QPR podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Falling,
he represents himself well.
The club did stand by him, but he did stand by the club, but also he was on pay as you play deals as well, which a lot of players wouldn't do. So I'm not sure about this. He never struck me as a prima donna who would demand to play every week. I don't think he's like that. I just think it's sad that he's gone. I wish he'd have stayed. But what can you do?
I think from a pure football, if you'd asked me after Burton Albion last week, where I thought we were particularly poor and there was a lot of long balls being knocked and we couldn't play through midfield, then I might have sort of rode back on this a little bit. But we looked a lot better against Watford on Saturday, and you can't read a lot into pre-season. But for me, central midfield was our biggest problem last year. It wasn't athletic enough to get up and down the pitch. It posed no attacking threat at all. We scored 2 goals from central midfield last year. Henry got 1 on the last day. Tozer got 1 at Sheffield Wednesday. Luongo got none. Falling got none. That's your central midfielders need to be chipping in with 5 or 6 goals. They were so slow that we always had to pick 3 of them, which in turn meant we could only pick 1 striker, which in turn was bad for Washington. So you had to play Polter up front by himself because we always had to pick 3 central midfielders. Look what happened in the Fulham home game when we played with 2 central midfielders. It was a disaster. So we needed athleticism and legs and youth and things in there, which we don't know if the Polish lad is going to bring that, but Cousins certainly will. We maybe need another body in there, but I can see why they got rid of Falling. Like I said, Burton Albion last week, it looked like a terrible mistake, and then on Saturday it was like, well... And Sean's right, they did stick by him when other clubs wouldn't have done, so you can't just keep him there forever and ever and ever, but I'm sort of waiting to be convinced, I guess.
Okay, and incoming... Well, there's Bidwell, there's the Polish lad, who we refer to because it's just too much effort to try and work out how to pronounce his name. Lynch, Cousins, and I'll add sort of 2 who I would say come under the banner of new signings, which is the young lad Shadipo, who appears to be in the running and appears to be kind of favoured and looking at some appearances, and Clint Hill's replacement, Stephen Corker. Well, I mean that is Clint Hill's replacement, isn't it?
No, it's Joel Lynch.
All right, I know. Yeah.
I think maybe they're going to play Colker till he gets another club.
I heard he likes Colker.
I'm sure he does.
And I think Colker would be. His family's in West London. I think he'd be quite happy to stay. But at the end of the day, if a Premier League club does come in for you, I still think he's had issues, but I still think he's a very talented player. For being honest, he doesn't just. You weren't at Tottenham for no reason. You don't get capped for England, do you? I still think he's got plenty of potential. I think maybe it could be what he needs. Maybe a season in the Championship. If he got his head screwed on, he could be the best player in the Championship.
I like the look of Hall and Lynch, to be fair, together. I think they both tie up with each other really well.
I think either way, it's looking as though obviously with Noura as being captain, Hasselbank sees him as an integral part of the team, and he's not. Well, I can't see Noura being dropped. He's going to be in the team, so
he's going to be
he's going to be a right back. Yeah. Well, he's probably going to play at right back because you've got some good centre halves there, haven't you?
Well, you've got Perch as well.
Yeah.
So, I think Colker apparently came back in unbelievable shape for pre-season, like properly focused, and has had a really good pre-season. I'm sure Hasselbank does like him, but I mean, even allowing for we can't afford wages like that anymore, he's just about the last sellable asset we have. And I'm sure we'll come on to an FFP discussion at some point when we ask why haven't we bought a striker. But we're going to need to find some money from somewhere over the next 12 months. And Colker's about the last person you could sell for any kind of serious wedge, I think. So it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't start the first 2 games, play really well and move right at the end of August. And then it would be a Hall and Lynch or a Noura and Lynch.
I would be surprised if someone didn't come in for a Christmas for Hall, to be honest with you. I think he was pulling up trees last season, like in the old days when sounding like Danny Maddox came from Spurs and something like that, under the radar came in and did such a good job. I think he's class.
Yeah, exactly as we should be doing that sort of signing. But let's give him difficult second season. Yeah, let's see how he's
had a very good season. There's no expectation of him though, was there? So now can he continue at the same level?
If he does, you'll be right. Someone will come and have a look. But let's see.
But it's nice to have defensive problems, away, rather than just a ball in the back.
We've got plenty of options. I think the back four's a lot better than it was last season.
Just the width you haven't got really.
So where do we need to add? Who's going to talk about a striker? Debate a need for a striker or not?
Well, it depends if he goes 2 up top. If he goes 2 up top, we need a finisher. It's not so much a striker. We've got Washington and we've got Polter, who played unbelievably well on Saturday.
Best of season play ever.
And if you get Cherry to come in with goals and do what Adele did, then you're laughing. But it's I think in the Championship, goals get you out of this division, and I would say we need a finisher. But that's just maybe me being greedy. But it depends on what the club want to do. If the club want to finish mid-table and keep building, then carry on. That's fine. But if the club want to go above that, then you will need a 20-goal a season finisher.
I can't see Jimmy really massively changing around with that 4-5-1 a lot, because you got Cherry. I think he's your best player.
Yeah.
I think you've got to have him sitting in the hole behind the striker, and it's working well with him and Polter. And I remember in the Championship with the 2010-11 season, Taraps and Helgeson, that works to an absolute treat, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I think, yeah.
But he had Tommy Smith and Jimmy Mackey.
Yeah,
there was goals on that side.
I think Washington potentially could be someone who come in off on the wing, but it's just I don't see. I'm not sure I can see Polter and Washington playing up front together, because then where's Cherry fit into it?
Yeah, they're always going to play with Cherry in his best position because he's their best player. And I thought it was that was a real statement of intent from Polter at the weekend. I'd never seen him play that well.
No.
He did. I mean, he's normally effective in a sort of humorous, clumsy way, but he was actually good against Watford.
Yeah,
we can't afford what we need. No, we've refurbished the team with the money that came in from Fur. The money from Phillips covers the gap between last season's parachute payment and this season's parachute payment, which is about 5 or 6
but Clive,
million.
we're still massively in debt. I know people say we're not debt free, but we are. We've still got a look. So
yes, I'm sure we
parachute
are.
money and transfer money is just very small into the actual pond that we need to fill.
Exactly. I think what people sort of ignore. I just see a lot on social media of buy an effing striker. Why don't you buy a striker? The market we're in at the moment is so ridiculous. You would have said that Dwight Gale would be the sort of striker that we could have a little look at. You know, he's gone to the Premier League and not really made it. He's not really in the Palace team. He could drop back down to the Championship and maybe rebuild. You know, you get him for 2 million or whatever. He's just cost Newcastle £10 million. So you're either faced with going into Europe and trying to pick up someone like Polter, who halfway through last season everybody hated, or you dip down division and try and pick a striker up for a couple of £1 million like we did with Washington, although Roof has cost Leeds £3 million from Oxford. That's a League Two player. So you can do that, but people are already writing Washington off, saying he's not good enough, we need somebody else. Like, we only just made FFP last season, according to Lee Hughes, and he said he was surprised that we did it. And we did it with £10 million from Raheem Sterling, the biggest parachute payment we're going to get, somewhere about 25 million, and £4 million from Austin. So there's no Sterling. The parachute payment's £5 or £6 million less this year, and there's no Austin. So that's 20 million quid off last season's budget that isn't there this season. And people are saying buy a striker in a market where Dwight Gale costs £10 million. I just don't think we can. I
think they'll get potentially Budvarsson in, the guy who played for Iceland. I think that's someone I think they will get him, but they're not going to be spending silly as close as 4 or 5 million. It's going to be 1 or 2 million.
What do we know about this Iceland guy?
He played obviously in the Euros every game.
Yeah, can organise a clap.
Yeah.
It looks decent enough, but everyone's looking. Everyone's the thing about strikers.
Everyone's decent against England,
but everyone's looking for the same player. Everyone's chasing that. I mean, I'm quite. The Brighton getting Murray was quite.
That was a good sign.
That was exactly who.
That's the one I think, and that's not going to. That only happens.
He won't have gone to Brighton for a packet of Monster Munch.
No, of course.
But
not.
he was
former Links.
It's a good sign.
That's a really good sign, and that's a more realistic sign.
But if we're hovering above mid-table and we're going to go have a cup run, and the club think that's success, and there's no need to break the bank. But if we are going towards, I know,
what was it? Sorry,
let's not ruin it. We've got a week to go, and then you're going towards a playoff, saying maybe go back to Southampton and see if a wee man wants to come back for a few months and help us on our way if he's not still knocking on the bench at Southampton.
Well, if it gets to the end of January and we're knocking on the door and you think, well, we've only got another year of parachute payments and the Premier League money's so big, you know, maybe we can have a little tilt in January and get in there. But the worst thing you can do is go out now, break the bank, because Fernandez and the board can afford to do it if they want to ignore FFP and just do it. But if you do that now, look at the strength of the division this year with Newcastle, Norwich, Sheff Wednesday, Brighton. Wolves have got some rich idiot now. The worst, we could go out, ignore FFP, spend 20 million, still not go up because the division's strong, and then this time next year we got transfer embargo, parachute payments coming to an end, and it's dark ages time again.
They finished 12th in the poor division last year.
Yeah.
It's a lot stronger this year, and everyone's saying, we can push. I don't think the current squad, I don't think playoffs is realistic at all.
It's a freaky division this year, I think. Everybody says the Championship's strong every year. It actually is this year.
It is.
It's
the strongest
good.
it's been for a long year. I think it's rebuild. I think anything between 10th and 12th just keep building on what you're doing, and just that's not having like an October, November situation like last year. Or
And what do you think Les and Jimmy think is realistic? I know they keep repeating this line, continuous improvement or whatever. What do you think they're realistically pushing for?
well, I think everyone. I know really he's
Or expecting.
I think they hope to be close to the playoffs. I don't think they're going to say guaranteed. We will be in the playoffs. I think Les maybe would have said that last year because obviously after the transfer, when you got Charlie Austin, you got Leroy Fern, you got Matty Phillips, and it's a bit different. You probably things are going to pan out a bit different. And he's probably you haven't got those players now.
I don't think he'd put his helicopter on as making the playoffs.
I think to be fair, you got Lee Hughes is going to have one direction once the club go in. So Les and will go one way, Jimmy will go the other way, and then you've got Twitter and a chairman. So who knows what way it could go? So
So I'm not putting words in either of your mouths, and I'm sure you'll jump down my throat if you think I am. But I'm getting from you, Paul, that you feel the club are being slightly under ambitious. And I'm getting from you, Clive, that they're being pragmatic and kind of, dealing with what's in front of them.
I'm not saying under ambitious, I'm just saying they're playing it down as before. We overhype anything, and we've overhyped so much that this year they're actually not doing it, and it just might work better. Just an opinion.
On
Because
the
at one stage I was waiting for the first QPR player on social media to have a dump, to be honest with you.
To what?
To have it,
The old days when it's somebody's first day at training sort of thing.
I just think you look at the squads, and I think you can name 6 or 7 better teams of QPR this year, can't you?
Yeah.
So
maybe that's a good thing, though.
It's a freaky division. There's never been two clubs as big as Villa and Newcastle. I personally think Villa will be a car crash again, but
That's terrible.
There's never been two clubs that size coming down together at the same time, and there's also Norwich, who are basically bringing the team that got them promoted and the manager that got them promoted. It's exactly the same setup. They're bringing that back again. There's also a lot of what you would call bigger clubs who've been knocking around in this division for ages and not doing much, who all seem to be getting their act together at the same time. So I'm thinking like Sheff Wednesday. I think they'll be up second behind Newcastle. I think Derby with Pearson, even allowing for their annual choke. You would think that they're going to be good. Wolves are just a wild card now. Leeds have actually signed well, although you would presume that the chairman will just burn it all to the ground, midway through September again. But these are, they're bigger clubs with bigger pulling power, more money than we've potentially got to spend. I just say it's a tough. This isn't the year to think, let's ignore FFP, spend 30 million on 3 players and have a dig at it, because there's a really good chance you would miss out anyway.
Now almost in that division, so you maybe need to spend a bit of time, look around and kind of get your bearings.
It's the problem is, I think a lot of fans though expect Jimmy Floyd-Aspank to get QPR in the playoffs this year, don't they?
I still think it's. I don't think you should judge it, because we were in the Crown on Saturday and expectations were very realistic, to the point of, well, let's not get sucked into a relegation battle. Realistic, but if you look on Twitter and Facebook in particular, whenever the club post anything, the replies are all, I don't care about the badge. I care. Get a striker signed. It's all fur coat, no knickers, and all. I just think. I think in some areas of the support, expectations are still far higher than they need to be and should be.
Well, I think if we're in now August, in 2 months' time, if we're sitting there and QPR 14th, 15th in the league, what's going to happen?
We had there was a little
what's going to happen?
There was a little scenario played out.
Fans are going to be on Twitter,
they won't be happy, will they?
Tweeting and doing what they've done with Ramsey.
I suppose we talk about expectations. We did spend £300 million. We have spent shitloads of money.
Yeah, not this season.
No, but in the past, so people have been. There's a generation.
And this is medicine.
But Clive, there's a generation of fans who aren't as old as us who
have come to expect that.
Exactly. So maybe that's where I'm not defending it. I'm just trying to look for where it comes from, because I think it's insane and I think it's good we're not involved in that this year.
I think that Burton Albion fixture on a Tuesday night at the end of September looms very, very large, because we only need to not start particularly well, have a ropey September, and get beat at Burton on a Tuesday night, and you just know we're going to be driving back from Burton that night. You're going to be looking at Twitter, and it's going to be Hasselbank out, Jacket in, this is wrong, that's wrong.
Jacket in, won't it? Jacket's the Joe Gallen. That'll be what it will be.
He's the next bullet in the chamber. He's already there, ready to go.
Well, you look at the reaction. Did you see the reaction after the Burton game 1-0 in pre-season? It's a pre-season game against a fellow championship side.
Newly promoted. I
It's 1-all.
We didn't lose. We were
lose.
rubbish.
And the kind of reaction was, oh, it's going to be... I said, I kind of put a tweet out, I think, be fine, should another rebuilding campaign, rubbish, will be 17th, 19th. How can you base on... It's just ridiculous. Not going to be in a relegation battle. I'm kind of come back to bite my words. No, they're not going to be anywhere near a relegation battle.
Dare I say, so what if we are 17th? Is that the end of the world this season?
Well, that's what the club want. One place for relegation, then that's what you
I
get.
suppose they're going to say it's got to be...
Yes, because if you're 17th, if you end up 17th, it means you spend the 3 months before that in a bad place, worrying, sacking this manager, sacking the next manager, and basically making a whole load of rash decisions.
True. We don't have to sack managers.
No.
But the power of social media and the bad nature, they're just going to be...
This is QPR, we need someone to come from the
Clive
bus.
has put what do you call nail on the head? I can't even think of basic English now. But when you say we're taking our medicine now, and
we've had a ruinous
taking
5
our
years.
medicine,
This is
at the wrong time, because everything we've just been saying for the last 10 minutes is so much money in the Premier League now. Every single player's 40 million. They're just throwing the 40 million is a new 10 million, which means the quite good players and quite good managers are dripping down to the Championship. And we're not in a position to take advantage of any of that.
It's like 1996 all over again. We've come out of the Premier League just at the wrong time. Just as the money's got really amazing, we've come away from it and we can't get back. We've got to accept that rather than chase it. I think.
If I look on that positively, shouldn't we be in a good position to pick up a decent Premier League striker on loan at the end of August? Because they can only put 23 players in their squad. They're filling them with loads and loads of players, so there'll be some decent players not in those squads, right?
You look at the players they've been looking at, though. I mean, Bamford, you've got about 12 teams interested in him. Same, you're not going to get Pritchard, I think. So all these players, I'll say too good for QPR, but I think those two particular players have done it. I think they want to be at teams going for promotion and trying to get back into the Premier League, because I think Pritchard's a Premier League player. Yeah. I'm not sure about Bamford. I know he hasn't really done it in his 2 loan spells. But I think he's still got potential, isn't he? So
we were talking on Saturday and saying that loan market is a potentially really good way of solving this problem. What you've then got to say, Chelsea are not going to loan you Bamford for free. All right, they're going to charge a loan fee, a big one. And they're going to demand that he starts a certain number of games, regardless of how he's playing, what his form's like, what formation he fits into, and whether you want to pick him. They're going to want him picked, and you're going to have to pay, basically, to borrow a player. Now, I think Bamford would go very well in the Championship, but can you imagine after everything we've done this summer, the last day of August, we bring Bamford in, we pay, say, £1 million or whatever it would cost us to get him here. You're then saying to Washington, Polter and Cherry, well, we've had a look at you during pre-season, we didn't think very much to you, so now we're paying £1 million and we're going to borrow this guy, and he's going to play in front of you because he has to. Like, even if we think that you're doing better in training or whatever, Bamford's going to start because he has to.
Is that how it works for these players?
Well, you look at Reading paid $2 million for that Vidra on loan for the summer, and had the whole season, didn't he? Last season, that's Vidra. He'll probably be more Bamford, wouldn't it?
We paid £1 million for a loan last season from Watford.
Yeah,
so you know.
It's not cheap. It's not like a.
Don't assume it's free, and don't assume it comes Well,
Pritchard would be a couple of. Well, I'm not saying you get him anyway, but that'd be a couple of million.
But by the way, talking to Watford, is it just me that thinks that Troy Dealey had a tree in pre-season?
Apparently it's all Jim. I was sitting with a Watford fan, and he said he's like Akin Fenwer. If you take the shirt off, it's all Jim. But he did look massive.
He reminded me of Neil Shipley.
Yeah,
that's a bit harsh.
Do you think so?
Let's talk about pre-season. It's almost, compared to the days of sort of tours that never end up materialising and going to Cornwall and playing sort of a couple of postmen and a few milkmen to get fit. It's been almost, again, the word that keeps entering my head is sort of sensible or pragmatic. It didn't let in many goals. There was no kind of massive horror stories from pre-season. Seems to, against decent opposition, seems to been good preparation, dare I say it.
On the pitch, it was very structured. And the quality, once we got back to the UK, the quality of the opposition sort of improved game by game, which is good. I can't imagine the people that went to Holland to watch us play PSV only to have it cancelled 4 days before the game would agree with your sort of assessment that it was entirely professional without disaster. But yeah, overall, it's the best one we've had for years.
I think you look. I think kind of struck out to me is obviously Carl Henry's been involved in the game a long time, and he said Hasselbank's by far the most demanding manager, and the training sessions, the intensity of them is by far the greatest of his career. That kind of says a lot to me. Someone who's been involved in the game, Carl Henry, he's been involved a long time, hasn't he? So I think they played
for Kenny Jackett.
Respects that. I think definitely respects that towards the manager, and I don't think it necessarily was there last year, which wasn't.
No,
they weren't fit enough to do what Hasselbank wanted them to do last year. He said told a friend of mine at the kit launch he felt that it was right that they had to have a ridiculously hard pre-season and properly hammer them so that they were in a position to play as he wants to play this season. The only thing I was a bit concerned at Burton Albion when 3 people picked up muscle injuries in the first 20 minutes. I was like, have you been hammering them too hard? But I suppose time will tell. Polter said last year he couldn't believe how easy pre-season was, his first one in the UK. Right. And he said he's the sort of player in Germany, he's used to coming back and having a horrendously hard pre-season and being ready to go. He said he couldn't believe how easy it was at QPR last season, so it'll be interesting to see if it's any better this season.
Why do you keep mentioning Kenny Jackett out of interest?
Only because Sean and Clive said that they were sort of future gazing, that as soon as people start getting, we pick up a few bad results, maybe you were asleep during that bit, a few bad results, people will want Hasselbank out and people will start talking about Kenny Jackett.
I don't think Hasselbank's under any threat.
There's no jacket required.
I don't think it's a Phil Collins thing. But I suppose if you bring Jackett in, you can bring Joe in, and that's another gallon they can sack.
We definitely said. No, we're not asking for Kenny Jackett to come in. Let's make that very clear.
I think Hasselbank will stay out the season. I think because that's
a really bold prediction.
Well, no, because the whole Les thing then falls down.
Yeah,
and it can't fall down for Les, so this has to work. So that's why I think Jimmy will be given a season unless we are horrendous.
But you know our chairman and our fan base.
I know them quite well, but I mean, it doesn't matter because if you know you're right, then you stick to your guns. Then you have to just go for it and ignore
our chairman
and our fan base. If we're 15th, 16th in October, those guns will take some sticking to.
Yeah, but then you just said that in the Crown, everyone's accusations was really low. I think.
Yeah, but Fernandez doesn't stick to his guns.
Yes, but in the Crown, I'm talking to 12 people that I like.
That many?
Probably the only 12 people I like.
No, but I just think it's been so downplayed. I can't say that he is under pressure. I think the signings he's made have been sensible, that everyone knows what they're doing. And I think as long as the club keep putting the message out of the rebuilding, of we are trying to structure something for the future, I can't. I mean, you can't.
I really hope you're right. Really hope you're right.
Yeah, well, you look at.
I'm never right.
I know
that's what worries me.
We look at when Rangers obviously started their season really badly under Mark Hughes. It was no win in 12 games. The players couldn't speak highly enough of him. So it's not. If you get off to a bad start, the players might really respect Hasselbank. But if he doesn't get a win in the first 7 or 8 games, what happens?
Well, the reason why they like Mark Hughes is because he kept getting tanked and he kept picking them.
I think Mark Hughes. Well, I think Mark Hughes is a good manager, but that's just.
Yeah, but he compromised himself with various. He brought an international keeper, regardless of Clive's opinion of Rob Green.
He didn't like Rob Green.
Undermined him with another one.
The signing of Caesar having bought Green was a disgrace. Yeah. Whatever I think of Green.
That's a huge signing.
But I'm not defending Mark Hughes because I can't stand him, and I was with Alan McDonald and Mark Hughes, his opinion of him. But we also had a board who kept saying we want big signings, we want to really impose QPR in the world. We got to do this. And I suppose he thought, well, you give me the money, they give money. He went off and got big players who weren't very good because we wanted to sell. Like you see, Park came in from Man U. He was really good at selling their crap, but he wasn't so much good at it on the pitch. So there's a bit of that going on, and we've changed from then. We've moved on from there. The lessons have been learnt from there.
I hope so. Right, we're nearly at the end, We've been going for about 40 odd minutes so far, and we've still got predictions to do, which we will do at the end. And then what will happen is we'll make those predictions and then we'll never refer to them again. But we'll still
You've done this to me before. You asked me to name my player of the season and it was my player of the season prediction. It was Samba Diakite. We never saw him again.
So you've got a few minutes to think of your player of the season and your final position for QPR. after the R's End, which isn't really the R's End because it's going to be the penultimate bit of the podcast, but anything and everything from either over the summer or anything else that we haven't talked about. I'll start with mine because mine is a functional podcast one. We've got the shout-out option on the website now where you can get yourself a shout-out on the podcast. And this week is a chap called Simon Rain, so thank you for supporting us, Simon. Also, a chap called John Cannelly needs a mention. He is a member of the Pod Squad, which I mentioned earlier, but he's in the States, so he's done it 2 years in a row. He won't come on because he lives in the United States, but he still supports us, so it's very nice that someone listens to us from there. So thank you, John. Thank you, Simon. Paul, what's your R's End?
Mine's basically a thank you to a number of people who helped me with my mum over the summer, which I've had a bad summer. Mandy and Colette Miles, and a guy called Noel at Octavia Housen, my mum's nan, Octavia Housen, who's a QPR fan. Nothing to do with him, but he just gave me some really good advice. He didn't pull any strings. And some QPR lads turned up to help me move my mum, and I just want to thank them for that. And this club is very, very special. I know I moan about things in the pitch sometimes, but we have got the best fans in the world, in my opinion, and I want to thank them. That's it.
Clive.
That music they used to play in the background of when Steve Wright read a love letter out at lunchtime. I don't know if you can find it.
That wasn't Steve Wright.
It wasn't. It was Simon Bates, wasn't it?
It was Simon Bates. First rule of comedy is factual.
Get factual. Okay.
Okay, anyway.
Play it in the background as I bid farewell to Armand Traore, who, threw his body on the line for our club over such a long period of time. We could always be relied upon there in the trenches, who somehow has got a 3-year deal at Nottingham Forest. So, I mean, if you're looking for an outside...
It's going to be brilliant.
Injured at the minute, though, wasn't it?
If you're looking for an outside bet for relegation, maybe it's them. I think Blackburn will go along with the usual suspects. But anyway, got a 3-year deal at Nottingham Forest, having not played any football at all at QPR for 18 months and been really awful before that. And a 3-year deal. And on his debut on Friday night, they were playing at Alfreton, a known, dominant force in northern football. Turned up late, so was meant to start but didn't because he didn't get to the ground on time.
Is that right?
Yes. It gets so much better, mate. So they put him on the bench after the game had started. They brought him on at half-time. He played the second half, scored an own goal. They drew 3-3 with Alfreton, who I think are now Conference North. Farewell, Armand. Brave soul.
Still score against us.
Great cross to Stoke away, though, wasn't it?
Great cross for Mackie.
Sorry, Sean, I've just got to do this quickly. By the way, it's our 6th season, and you guys are keeping this podcast going. It's much appreciated, and without you, we couldn't do it. And I know David keeps asking for things, and he's right too, because it costs a fortune to keep this going. But we do appreciate your support, and hopefully you'll still like us in another 6 years. Hello, personally, I want to tour his agent. Carry on.
Sean.
Mine would probably be, hopefully, there's kind of been discussions with a couple of people recently about stand bowls.
Yes.
Hopefully, something can be sorted in terms of a benefit game.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Well, yeah, there's going to be like a meeting with the club after the transfer window, so hopefully there can be some discussions and something can be sorted for him, because I think obviously his conditions obviously worsen as time goes on, so I think hopefully the club will put something from it. I know, to be fair, they have set up a Go fund from last year and obviously the Rotherham game, but I think it'd be nice to put on a game for him. Maybe just I think you could get 10,000 fans, 15,000. You got Brentford, you got Carlisle. There's loads of his former teams, I think.
But they're actually talking about doing a benefit just to get his family a holiday.
Yeah.
If only we had a chairman that had a playing company. I said that in the live podcast. I've said it again.
It's all so easy, isn't it? You could easily have a benefit game. You can
of course
easily
you could.
chuck them 500 quid.
Is there a huge movement to not have a benefit game?
Exactly.
I think
it's so easy.
They got
it will happen.
Transfer window, and I think they'll.
What the club should do every year on the 10th of the 10th is put a different style of Istanbul shirt out from an iconic stage of his career in the 70s, sell it, and half the proceeds or all the proceeds go to his family. Because these are players that played without money in them days. They played for the love of the game, most of all. Well, Stan played to wind everyone up and to be the that he was, and he was a great player. And we'll never ever see the likes. I mean, people have named their dogs after Stan Bowles, their children after Stan Bowles. He is a QPR legend. We shouldn't be asking for this game. It should be happening.
Okay. Right. All that remains is predictions.
Yeah.
So, where will Queen's Park Rangers finish, and who will be player of the season? Sean.
QPR finished 10th, and Sharon Cherry will be player of the season.
Okay. I think Sharon Cherry will be player of the season, and I think not far behind, you could be surprised, and it could be Stephen Colker. Just basing it on the love that there appears to be for him from the management and this rippedness that you talk of, and as in his physique.
I don't live with the guy. But
I feel like with predictions, it's like I can never predict that QPR will lose. So even if it's illogical, I'm going 6th. Next, Clive.
11th and Polter. No Polter, no party.
No Polter, no
Party.
Oh. Heard that before.
Somebody's Twitter handle. It's somebody's Twitter handle. I love it.
There's a lot of.
I'm going for. Actually, I don't. As long as we don't get relegated and we play with pride, passion, and
Polter.
And people work
Pride, passion, and Polter.
Yeah, and people work their arses off, and then all we want is players not to leave anything in the pitch. So go out there, give their all, and leave. No one have tried. Nothing else matters, and we've had nothing like that for a wee while. Some of it, but not all of it. It'd be great to have that again, and I'll be happy with anything then. And I think the player of the season will be a toss-up between Hall and Cousins.
Nah.
And I'd love it to be Connor Washington.
I'm not letting you get away without a prediction for where we're going to finish.
I'm going for 10th.
Okay. And before we finish, quick predictions for Saturday. I'll go.
Could play on Sunday.
Yeah, sorry. Quick prediction for Sunday.
Sunday breakfast.
Sunday breakfast.
The traditional opening day of the season kickoff time.
Sunday brunch.
I'll go 1-1. Sean.
2-1 Leeds.
Clive.
0-0.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, sorry.
Green to save a penalty.
Yeah, Green to save 3 penalties and ride out at the end of the game on a spaceship or something.
You can have the last word.
That'll be a first. I think we'll win 1-0 and Leeds will sack the manager.
Well, that second one will definitely happen. Thank you very much for joining us today, folks. Really good pre-season pod. We'll be here most Mondays from now on. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Open All Ours.
QPR, QPR, Queen's Park Rangers.